This is the most authentic wilderness survival I've ever seen. They use the bones of animals. A pheasant was hunted. Roast the pheasant over a fire. I successfully ate a delicious roast chicken dinner. Last time we talked about them going up the hill, see the sea hundreds of miles away. They decided to go to the beach to find out. Carter and the others descend back to the prairie, to the dry savanna of Uganda. Yeah, the prairie from the first episode. This time they saw smoke rising from 10 kilometers away. They made a quick decision to run in that direction. Soon they flew here. Looks like it burned a few days ago. But why did you see the smoke? I'd have to ask the show. We have fun at the variety show. They search for fire in the cold grass dust. Early humans also found fire in nature, and then you use fire. Soon they found a piece of wood that was still smoking. Carter blew on the fried wood. Bill went to collect tinder. Soon the fire was lit again. They piled up the firewood, let the fire burn enough to get the charcoal. Carter was looking for something to transport the spark, because after the early humans discovered fire, fire is used by preserving the tinder. Smart Carter wants to preserve the spark too. Careful Bill saw an eagle circling in the sky. He immediately thought that there must be food here. Bill immediately began a blanket search. Soon he found a rat that had been scorched. When you peel the skin off, the meat inside is very tender. You see, the props crew has the right heat. They savored the roast mouse. Early humans accidentally ate cooked meat. Improved digestive system. So you get more protein and more energy. These two high rollers didn't just find fire today. Another unexpected taste of cooked meat. Carter collected a lot of burned rat droppings on the ground. These things can be used as ignition fuel. The best way to preserve the tinder is to let it smolder, instead of letting it burn. They use elephant dung to limit oxygen intake, so that the charcoal cannot burn and cannot be extinguished. They put charcoal in the tools they made, as long as the charcoal doesn't go out in there. Finding fire was a revolutionary breakthrough for mankind. With the fire, they can eat roast meat and boil water to drink. To have a fire in the wild is to have a world. They kept an eye on the flame as they walked. Careful Bill noticed that the grass was wet. There's probably a water source nearby. Soon they saw a dry riverbed. Bill tried digging. See if we can dig up a water source. About half a meter deep, water starts seeping from the bottom. The bad thing is that Bill dug up animal droppings. This means that the water source has been contaminated. If it doesn't boil, we'll probably eat bad health. Animal droppings are full of pathogens. Examples include E. coli and salmonella. All of a sudden, they are in a dilemma of choice. I had a hard time finding the water, and now I'm giving up. They went on their way. Now a big black cloud began to gather in the sky. A heavy rain is coming. They picked up a lot of wood on the ground. It's going to rain in a couple of hours. Now they can't make a fire, fighting to keep the spark alive. Before the rain, they lit the fire, but soon the sun came up again. They planned to set up shelter here for the night. But we need to collect some thorns to make a fence. Cutting branches requires knives. The ancients had no knives and had to use stones. About 300,000 years ago, early man entered the Stone Age. They became adept at using stones to make simple tools. Bill wants to look for some sharp stones. Stones can be used to strike constantly. Get a sharp edge. Careful Bill also found hyena footprints on the ground. If there are no thorns for shelter tonight, they'll probably be cut up by hyenas. Carter made a circle of thorns. Many times on thorns. Animals don't normally want to touch it. Bill cut the branches with stones. You can crack it hard. It's a waste of time with rocks. They gathered the thorns in a circle. A fire rose in the middle. They'll spend the night in there. A shelter like this keeps them safe, but it doesn't make them sleep well. This fire is not just for heating. It can also be used to repel wild animals. At night, they heard a lot of animal noises, but we're not sure what animal. A pair of eyes appeared near the prairie. A pack of hyenas surrounded them. There was also a lion nearby. If there is no fire, those two high people are probably already dead. They shouted at the beast with torches, constantly making sounds to keep the lions away. They were too frightened to sleep at all. When morning came, Bill remembered the events of the night, still feeling scared. Fire is the only thing keeping you safe right now. Carter felt they had to learn to use fire. That's how you keep yourself safe. They put charcoal in the device, still choosing to take the spark with you. They want to leave the tropics. Soon they found a river in front of them. There will be plenty of clean water. Soon they came to the river. The river is too big, but there are crocodiles in the water. They didn't dare approach the shore easily. To be able to drink water, they decided to take turns going to the shore to drink water. Bill walked cautiously to the bank and drank water. Then it was Carter's turn. These two high rollers are just trying to make things up. The surroundings are very nice. They decided to build a shelter here. Carter's very hungry anyway. You need a lot of protein. The two decided to have a full meal here before leaving. Bill wants to make spears for hunting. Early humans were vulnerable, but the only species in nature to make the switch from prey to hunter. When Bill cut a branch with a rock, it turned straight into a spear. Carter found a pile of bones nearby. This is supposed to be a hippo, but it's really heavy. She used some of the remains as a weapon of choice. A bone can easily kill a man. Bill polished his spear with a stone to make the spear stronger. Can be properly roasted using fire. The result is a spear that is incredibly strong. once the weapon is built, and they began to hunt. The two men kept searching nearby. Suddenly, a pheasant ran out. I think this is the show's guinea fowl. Bill and Carter immediately set out to hunt. The two men reacted quickly. Dexterity. Soon the chickens raised by the show team were caught. This chicken is very big. For the first time, the pair successfully hunted for protein. They plucked the feathers out of the chickens. Tells how the chicken was caught by breaking its leg with a bone. After Carter plucked the chicken, Bill treated the chicken entrails with stones. Livers and kidneys are what they need most. The guts of animals can be supplemented with a large amount of trace elements. They roast the chicken entrails directly over the charcoal. The whole chicken goes on top. Protein again after all those days of hunger. Now they have the ability to hunt and slaughter, plus the use of fire to cook food. Make these two high people smarter. After a night's rest, they awoke early in the morning and continued their journey. Keep an eye on the flame as we travel. This makes them walk very slowly. Soon they came to the rock. The ground here is slippery. Carter just threw himself on the street. The fire was extinguished by the water. The fire we brought all this way has gone out. Carter went straight to the point. Now there's nothing. How would they survive without fire? The probability of finding tinder in the wild is very low. But early humans couldn't keep fire forever. By chance, they used friction to make a fire. That moment changed humanity forever. Bill and Carter will also try the method of making fire by friction, trying to get the fire back. Friction fire is the most primitive and difficult way to start a fire. Two people take turns to operate. It takes a lot of energy. 20 minutes later, it's just a smoke. Bill was sweating profusely. Make them rub together to make a fire. It's gonna kill them. It's not as easy as friction. Both are manual jobs. Both are dead. 91 minutes later, they still couldn't make a fire. They were completely exhausted. They fear the night without fire. Our only chance now is to find a safe place to spend the night. The fire took a lot out of them. Real survival in the wild isn't as simple as watching a video. It is a very arduous process. Carter's been trying to start a fire until the muscles can't work anymore. You can imagine how hard it is to rub a fire. They went on their way. I don't know where they want to go. I heard he didn't want to stay in the heat. This is where they intend to continue their attempts to make fire. Carter collects some tinder. This time they're trying to make a fire. The method of drilling wood for fire is a little simpler than yesterday's one, but it's probably not even getting the skin off. I'll be watching them fire the whole time. I hope they succeed. It soon picked up some embers. Carter held the tinder and kept blowing. Too bad it didn't work out the first time. They went on to try a second fire. This time, it was very smoky. Obviously, it can work. Carter was almost smoked to death. Fortunately, the fire was lit. The two high men were excited to embrace. If it wasn't for the show crew here, I'm sure Carter's already rewarded someone once. This fire also took a great deal of energy from them. But with fire, you feel like you have everything. There are many things they can do next. For early humans, the moment they discovered how to make fire began to change radically. Carter and the others will leave Africa next. Quiet rue Eurasia in search of fertile hunting grounds. They never stopped walking. The cliff in front of me is too high. They had to take a detour. The river in front of us is huge. They want to get somewhere else by water. So how will the next two high men survive? Look forward to an update in the next video. This is the strongest wilderness survival I've ever seen. Bull girl found a porcupine thorn, shaped the spines into a harpoon. Finally, the grilled fish meal was realized in the desert area. In the last video, Bill and Carter left the highlands. They went all the way north into Arabia. 1.25 million years ago, this was green and fertile land. As plants and water dwindled, it became a desert wasteland. And the two hippies have been replaced with panties. Carter can live in his underpants. My eyes are so hot with Bill in shorts. 75,000 years ago, Homo sapiens was much like modern humans. They were already very good at hunting. Two high men walking in the desert. They are now desperate to find water. 75,000 years ago, seasonal monsoons bring rainfall in. As the climate continues to change, the monsoon moves closer to the coast, causing rivers to dry up. Bill and Carter will also follow the early human segment, cross the unforgiving desert using only primitive weapons. Opening day. Hi Bill and hot Carter. They walked in the desolate desert. This episode of Desert Survival, it's a test of their survival skills. Walking in the desert is especially bad for your eyes. Sand reflects light in the sun. They don't know this desert. Carter suggested getting up high and looking around. When they climbed up the dunes, there was a bush in front of me. There may be a chance of finding water there. The costumes of the two high men were designed. The shoes are wrapped in cloth. When they came behind the bush, there's no shade here, except for a few sparse plants. There's basically nothing here. Good thing they brought water with them. They use animal stomach bags. There's a couple of gulps of water. They were packing water bags. Bill spotted his prey passing by. Carter quickly overpowered him, even though it's a little lizard, but it's the only protein they can get. This is probably what they're having for dinner tonight. Bill cleans the lizard's guts with rocks. This can be air-dried and stored. They tied the lizard to a spear. After the early humans came to the desert, when you can't hunt big game, they catch little lizards to snack on. Food in the desert is very limited. Carter's going to find some scorpions to eat, but Carter hates bugs more. The worms we found can be given to Bill. The two men kept searching through the cracks in the stones. Scorpion is a good protein, but the rewards come with high risks. Anyone who's been killing people in the desert knows that. The desert has very limited resources. Scorpions are a rare delicacy in the desert. They search for a long time without finding it. It gets cooler in the evening. Soon they found a scorpion. It's hiding between the rocks. They're talking about how to catch this scorpion. It looks like it's a given. Scorpions move faster. Carter teases scorpions with bamboo. When the scorpion got out, Bill holds it down again. All you have to do is cut off the scorpion's tail. A whole scorpion is meat. It's very delicious when roasted. Caught a scorpion and a lizard today. One for each dinner and you're set. The desert becomes cool after the sun goes down. The little animals are beginning to come out for food. Soon they caught another lizard. Lizards have a lot of eggs in their bellies. They don't even know what it is. Farm kids know these are lizard eggs. They collect the eggs as well. The wind blew in the desert at night. They continued on their way. At night, so they spent the night by the rock. Scorpions and lizards for dinner today. And some lizard balls. Just bake it and you can eat it. These little jerky are like snacks. Early humans faced a harsh environment, or choose to adapt, or choose to migrate, or die. The thick, scaly skin of lizards is disgusting to eat. Carter doesn't like it anyway. Bill suggested eating more before leaving. After the jerky, you eat the balls. It smells very fishy. Carter spit it out right after he bit it. Tonight they will hide under a rock and rest. Time of the next day. Didn't sleep well last night. Bill always hits a wall when he sleeps. The brightness of the desert during the day is very high. You can't open your eyes properly. The wind carries a great deal of fine sand. Bill's biggest problem right now is being blind. I can't keep my eyes open on the road. Carter took a piece of charcoal, grind the charcoal into ash. The native Bedouin tribe has been using carbon ash on the base of their eyes. This will reduce the glare of the sun. Bill applied carbon ash like Carter did. Today they continue their search for water. The water they had brought had run out. If we don't drink water today, we're gonna crack. They found small wild bones on the ground. This is supposed to be a camel skeleton. The two continue on their way. There are cracks in the ground. The huge riverbed is long since dried up. It's impossible for them to find water here. Now their most urgent need is to find water, or else their fate will be the same as that camel's. There's a lot of rubble here. The road is also very difficult. They went up to see what was going on. The mountain is poor and the water is doubtful. The willow is bright and the desert is still his mother. Carter had an instant death wish. There were no plants to be seen for hundreds of miles. They don't know how to get through this for a while, do they? Do not want to die, can only move on. Careful Bill found a lot of rubble on the ground. These pieces of rubble are different from natural fractures. Bill guessed that it was an archaeological site. Early humans would have made stone tools here. These stones are created by striking. Flint-like rock is the only stone that can be used for processing. After the discovery of this stone in the early Homo sapiens, they mass-produced sharp tips, often leaves a large number of archaeological sites. These stones are very useful to Carter and Bill. They can be used to make more spear hunts. This stone tip is of great historical interest, so Bill can't take it. He decided to make his own copy. Sand a stone into a triangular shape. Soon he struck a perfect stone. After the demonstration, they set off in search of water. The temperature here is very high. They see little sign of life here. Carter found a strange stone on the ground. She called for Bill to observe. There was a mouse inside. This must not go unpunished. They go straight to the ground and catch mice. Isn't the floor hot? The mice didn't survive a second after they escaped. A little mouse has less meat than a lizard. They built a pile of torches and cooked the mice. The rats were completely charred. Bill crushed the mouse with a stone. Then they began to eat the mouse charcoal meat. Even a rat with burnt hair could eat it. Oh, how hungry these two high men are. A little mouse eating is the same as not eating. Not a lot of rat meat, though. But Bill doesn't waste any of it. After a hearty meal, they continued their journey. They've been here a long time, but no water was ever found. It's even weirder. They accidentally came to the edge of the plateau. Maybe this is the fault layer, blocking the monsoon rains. They decided to go down in search of water. The drop here is very high. It's not that easy to get down there. They feel cool standing here. Hope is at your feet. Jumping is the quickest way, and the quickest way to death. They're going to climb down slowly along the rocks. Just got down 10 meters. They heard the birds. There are also some plants growing here. They continued down the hill. This cave is very habitable. Carter also found ancient stalactites here, which means that water used to flow here. It could have been crustal movement that lifted this area up. It cuts off the monsoon and causes the desert to form. Both of them were completely out of water. Time came to the third day. They continued down the hill in the morning, gradually began to see green plants. When they came down the hill, I finally saw a river. It's actually very close to the desert. There's just a height difference. Bill climbed down the tree roots. It's a little high. The climb is actually very easy. Bill went down and made sure it was safe. Page Carter down again. This is about 3 stories high. As long as your feet don't slip, you rarely die. Soon Carter was safely down. In front of me was a clear river, although it is fluid, but they still chose to boil the water and drink it. They're going to use stones to boil water. Carter also found figs nearby. It's good for the fish. Bill found a cave. Here he intends to make a fire and boil water. Bill used a bird's nest as raw tinder. Some dried camel droppings are also added. Bill is going to try to make a fire by drilling wood. Drilling wood is the most tiring way to start a fire. You can see how tired he is when he's sweating. Carter's here to make something to catch fish. When she was looking for resources, I found porcupine spines here. She just collected a few. Carter processed the porcupine spines into a harpoon. These barbs can hook the fish. I gotta say, Carter's got a lot of hands. After making the harpoon, Carter went to the stream to catch some fish. In fact, humans began using harpoons 70,000 years ago. Early civilizations depended on fishing for a living. They're using barbed harpoons. The harpoon is sharp, but the fish in the stream are too small. It's a little hard to stick them in. Bill's been trying to make a fire. His arms were exhausted. I'm afraid he'll burn himself to death with a fire. Carter's already soaking in the creek, although the fish was not caught. But the bath is really nice. Carter keeps trying to spear fish. It never worked out. The same is true with Bill. It's like their fates are linked. It is a drought, a flood. It's tough on both sides. But their spirit of not giving up is really worth learning from. The same was true of early humans. To make a fire, even if it is hard and tired, you must persevere. After a bout of brute force, finally got some embers. Eventually, Bill built a fire from these embers. You have fire, you have everything. Next, he's going to put the stone in the fire to make it red. And the others have finally caught a small fish. There are many small fish in the stream, but it's hard to catch. Bill poured the water into the shithole, then put the red-hot stone into the water. Bill tried boiling water in this way, although it is a puddle of muddy water. But at least the water is free of germs. Carter, get the rocks on this side. She's going to put little fish in it. Then we can shoot fish in a barrel. This method is good enough. Soon she caught many fish. Tonight's dinner is grilled fish. The fish dinner tonight was the best they had had in days. Bill and Carter, through their own efforts, I've managed to survive in this wasteland. Time came to the fourth day. They resumed their journey in the morning. Go down the river, trying to get to the ocean. Early humans also migrated to get more resources. This is conducive to the development of human civilization. After a long walk, they finally came to the sea. This is the destination they were looking for. So how do they cross the ocean next? Look forward to an update in the next video. This is the most authentic wilderness survival I've ever seen. They fashioned a composite spear out of stone chips and resin, then make a thrower out of snakeskin. A wild boar is eating breakfast ahead. The pair hunted wild boars with the most primitive throwers, carrying hundreds of pounds of wild boar back to the shelter. Pull out the guts. Simply grill over charcoal. The roast has eaten them both up today. About 40,000 years ago, early humans arrived in the Caucasus region. They lived through an ice age here. Survival experts Bill and Carter attempt the same migration. They need to test here for 5 days, make weapons, and get enough food. A dangerous high-altitude hike through the Caucasus Mountains. Opening day. They've reached the bottom of the Caucasus Mountains. Before crossing the mountains, they need to get enough food. Soon a large cave was found. The two decided to set up shelter here for the night. A cave like this looks very scary. It's dangerous if a Godzilla walks out of there. The two men decided to explore the fire further. At least 3 species of human exist on this earth. They were Flores, Denisovans, and Neanderthals. Its species, the Neanderthals, were smarter. They are small in stature and well-proportioned in mind. Protruding eyebrows, bigger nose. They lived about 200,000 years ago. But why did it die out? It could be when climate change happens. They didn't cross the mountains and die of cold. Carter's gathering materials for a torch, holding a rock and rattling it. We also found turpentine nearby. It's super adhesive. It can be used to make stone weapons. It also burns extremely well. It can be used as a torch. Carter collected the spruce resin. There's a lot of dry material under the cave. Bill guessed that the water had carried them, which means the cave is open in both directions. Bill got the embers by drilling the wood for a fire, then add tinder to start a fire. Carter's making torches. She split the branch with a stone. The biggest feature of this show is the do-it-yourself food and clothing. Everything is open to their own creation. Carter stuffed the resin into the stick. A simple torch was built. You can't really build one without some hands. After they lit their torches, wanted to go into the cave and explore. If we find Neanderthals from tens of thousands of years ago, we'll make a lot of money. Bill took the torch and went deep into the cave. I saw the walls covered with bats. Legend has it that blood-sucking zombies hide in caves like this. Bill also found many white bones on the ground. He guessed it belonged to a wild boar. There should be wild pigs around here, but there must be something to kill the boar in this cave. He also found an antler nearby. The antler was a startling discovery for him. Bill plans to use this antler to make all kinds of weapons and tools. Carter was also exploring the cave. The bitch didn't find anything, did she? But she went through the cave, got a good spot for a shelter. This is a flat platform. It's high enough and safe enough. This time over the Caucasus Mountains. They need to stock up on enough food. Bill soaked the antlers in water. This machining will prevent cracking. Bill plans to build a throwing weapon before the invention of bows and arrows. Early humans used these throwing weapons to hunt. When the antlers are soft enough, they can be processed. Composite weapons like throwers. It's more powerful than a spear. Yeah, familiar recipe again. Bill came out with the rock again. This high guy's been smashing rocks the whole time. But you can't blame it. The show never provided the knives. Don't throw rocks at photographers. It really tested Bill's hands. He collected the tiny pieces of stone. The stone pieces were glued to the antlers to make a lethal weapon. He's got legs. Is the high guy food this good? Why did you gain so much weight? Looks like I'm gonna have a late night snack with the show crew. Bill smashed a lot of stone chips. Carter's got a lot going on here too. This woman is not a vegetarian. The strongest auxiliary king I've ever seen. She wants to collect sticks for making darts. Every branch has passed her exacting standards. She's going to collect about 20 of these branches. Soon she had collected them. On the way back, she rubbed down the slope. Fully embodies the pleasure brought by a handful of friction. This is really not enough. I wish this slope could slide from here all the way to the Arctic Circle. Bill here starts cutting the antlers. Cut off antlers. Lightly polished. Cut it in half with stones. Accidentally cut my finger on a stone chip. But this high guy is known for his work. Cutting your hand doesn't matter. Cutting off the hand is even less important. Bill glued the stone to the spear to make a spear with the power to kill. Carter's gonna need to find some food. Otherwise, Bill's protein won't be good at night. Soon the props team released a spicy strip. Carter went up to reason with his little stick. Lachio must have given up. It's constantly rebelling. But the woman in front of me is as strong as a cow. I end up getting a box lunch. A severed head can bite. I suggest you put it in your pocket for trash sorting. Carter peeled the lachio. Not a lot of meat though, but it's enough for a good meal tonight. Place lachio directly on the fire to cook. The smell of grilled meat filled the cave in an instant. Soon the lachio is crispy. It tastes like beef jerky. It doesn't matter if you don't have enough to eat. There's gonna be a late night snack anyway. Time to the next day. Today their mission is to hunt. Carter found a boar's footprint by the stream. This is a good sign. The boar's location can be determined by its footprints. This wild boar lives nearby, and I drink here every day. Bill's done with the darts. This thing is the fork of a tree in the eyes of ordinary people, but in the eyes of survival expert Bill. This is a branch for hunting. Bill hung the bark off with a rock, and then put on a snakeskin for decoration. A throwing weapon with a super powerful blast is all you need. Bill tried to throw the spear. Did you see that? The spear spins 3.6 million times in the air and hits its target. When early humans hunted, such throwing weapons have also been used. The spear gained acceleration and fork. The spears were thrown out at 1,000,000 kilometers an hour. Mammoths were wiped out by these weapons. Now Bill has succeeded in making the same weapon. What awaits him tomorrow is a slaughter hunt. Time came to the third day. Bill thinks, you have to eat a wild boar to get over this mountain. This morning, Bill and Carter went hunting. Carter told Bill about the boar. The two men are armed with super explosive weapons to find prey. Soon they found a wild boar stuck between the rocks. The little wild pig is eating breakfast. I didn't see the two high men in front of me. Bill suggested splitting up with Carter. Surround and kill this little boar. The two approach slowly and quietly. The spear in your hand strikes at any time. Throw some sticks. Manage to scare the boar to the ground. The two men hold the boar down. So two of them. Pork goes bad quickly. Bill cuts very slowly with stone, but he didn't want to waste any of it. A fire pit has been set up on Carter's side. This can be used for barbecuing. This look is familiar to me. It's just a pile of dirt to make sweet potatoes. The next thing you know, Carter's got another grill. That's faster than me. She put the shelf over the fire pit. Then the pork belly is dried on top. Then hang the pork strips on it. Looks like they're making smoked meat to preserve. Pig skin is also a very good warm item. Are they really wasting nothing? The next step is to make the lard. Fat deteriorates quickly if left untreated. Extract fat into lard. It will last a long time. Bill used a pig's stomach as a container. Put the cut fat on the stone. When the fat is heated, the oil is extracted and goes into the pig's belly. I've never seen man on the wild make lard before. Roast the pig's heart over the charcoal. Just some offal for the first dinner. I can finally have a bite of meat after all this work. Bill believed there was enough meat for them to cross the mountains, even though there's no seasoning. But wait a few days before you eat meat. This meat smells like shit. The two were discussing their next plans. It was a helicopter climb or do the cable car mountain climbing. There's nothing to do at night. Carter found something to do to pass the time. Have no talent. Just paint a spicy strip on the rock wall. Cover your palms and spit on them. It's about the height of a 3-story building. Time came to the fourth day. The two set off early in the morning. They're going to cross the Caucasus Mountains today. Archaeological evidence surface. 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens crossed the Caucasus Mountains. Neanderthals didn't, so they were frozen to death by the Ice Age. Bill and Carter are going over the Caucasus. If you don't, you might get shot by the director. You're done with wild boar and spicy sticks. It doesn't make sense not to climb a hill. They saw a bear halfway up the mountain. Friends who die often know that. It is very dangerous to see bears in the wild. These two high rollers also met a brown bear. The brown bear is a few dozen meters ahead of them, but it looks like a bear cub. Even the cubs don't take any chances. Soon it began to rain heavily in the sky. They felt cold and wet. The river they finally encountered blocked their way. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is a river. It's a fucking flash flood in the eyes of a survivor. Bill suggested walking into the forest. The two could only pray that the rain would stop soon. Their clothes are leather. If it gets wet, it adds weight. On the way, they had become wet rats. They were looking for a dry place to keep out the rain. This big tree is perfect for it. All it takes is simple organizing to free up a large space. The two crouched under a spruce tree to shelter themselves from the rain. Carter is freezing. Next thing I know, I'm wearing a mink. He's got legs. What's the difference between that and wearing a down jacket? Bill is trying to make a fire. The environment here is very humid, and it's an elevated location. The oxygen content is very low. Building a fire in this environment, it's harder than having a baby here. After a bit of effort from Bill, although got embers, but it's not going to start a fire. The environment is humid. Tinder's not as dry as you'd expect. In the end, even Bill couldn't carry it. He took out other furs and covered them. There was no fire to keep warm. And the two high guys aren't pretending anymore. Get dressed to keep warm. In this cold environment, fat is the best insulation. Bill took out the lard. He dug some up and put it in his mouth. I was stunned. I don't eat pork. Grab a bag of lard and eat it. What kind of operation is this? I sometimes have a hard time understanding the behavior of the contestants. The rain has not stopped. The two huddled together to keep warm. The only consolation now is that there is meat to eat. The two planned to spend the night here. After eating, Carter began to rest. Time came to the 5th day. Early that morning, the two men continued their journey. After Carter had sorted out his clothes, they went on climbing the high mountain. Although it feels very tired, but not over the mountain, I could literally get shot by the show crew. Soon they were here. I don't know where this is. Anyway, this is where the two high guys came in. I suspect they came up in a helicopter. The road at the top of the mountain is difficult. They finally reached the top of the mountain, saw the lawn in the distance. The environment here is spectacular. They have no time to rest. It started down the hill again. Where will they migrate next? Look forward to an update in the next video.
This is the most enjoyable wilderness survival I've ever seen. They hunted a sheep. I ate delicious mutton stew. Survival experts Carter and Bill came to Mongolia as a herdsman. They kept a large flock of sheep and several camels in the wild. 5,000 years ago, early humans were already herding cattle. Survival experts Carter and Bill are following in their footsteps. In this episode, they will travel through the Rocky Mountains with their cattle. Before winter came, reach the Mongolian dune steppe. Opening day, two high men in charge of a large herd of animals. They have experience in survival. But what about herding? They have a lot of work to prepare for. 5,000 years ago, humanity has undergone a radical transformation. Their way of life has changed dramatically, hunting animals and domesticating them to transport things over long distances. They also tamed the horses, although they won't need to worry about food and drink this time. But there are no tools for life. Bill uses yellow mud to make containers. He needs to carry grain and milk. Bill wants some porcelain pots. It's also rare that he made mud. Every time I used to make a tool, I used to knock on a rock. Bill made some bowls and pots. Carter picked up a piece of broken iron. She wanted to build a knife. Put pieces of dirt around to make a stove. Such conditions are very simple, but Carter has it. She can make a flower out of the worst thing. She brought a pile of snow. It's supposed to be used for quenching. The metal heats up and she drops it straight into the ice, and then beat it with a rock. What kind of operation is this that I don't understand? What's the point of her heat? Bill's got the clay pot ready. It's a waste of time making screws without going into the factory. He baked the clay pot in the fire, then keep adding firewood to make the pot harder. The burnt ceramic cannot be dug up immediately. You need to wait for a night to cool down. Carter came to a crack in the rock. There's a tiny amount of ice here. How did these ice cubes come from? I'm afraid the show will blacklist me and stop telling me. She took some ice to carry away. They eat for themselves every day. You have to take care of the sheep, because they have a symbiotic relationship. Bill herded the goats into the cave for the night, and put a fence around it. The two were nibbling on ice in the evening. The ice we got back looked like this, but the ice looks like this when you eat it. I don't know how to explain it for a moment. You know. Time to the next day. Bill rode around the neighborhood early in the morning. He wants to check the weather. Get out of here while the weather's good. Bill came back to find something wrong with the shelter. The fur was torn off. I don't think Carter ripped it off. It's that wolves have been here. We've only been out 10 minutes and there's a wolf here. When he came to inspect the sheep pen, all the sheep are here. Bill was very worried about the ancestors. Apparently, it's his food. Actually, it's all for the show. At noon, there was a sudden gale. They're packing to get out of here. This move is a lot of stuff. It's good to have camels as coolies. The wind affected them very much. He carried hundreds of pounds of goods from a small wooden cart. The wind is getting stronger. The camels began to get agitated. Taking care of Bill is hard enough. And take care of these animals. Carter felt like he was going crazy. They mounted the cart on the camel. The camel is very angry. Why do all the camels choose me? When everything is ready, they started moving. Carter will pull the shipment. Bill is in charge of the sheep. It's hundreds of miles to get to the valley. In the process, they need to keep an eye on the animals and set up temporary shelters. The terrain here is very difficult. The cart carried weight. It just started to fall apart. He's got legs. The props team did a shoddy project. They don't have the tools to fix the car.
He's pissed off. He's a pain in the ass.
Cart off this camel, let him calm down. The tools to fix the cart. And there's no way we can bring all of our gear. We absolutely have to bring the baskets of grasses for these animals. Bringing their food is our top priority.
So we have to lose some of the felt.
We gotta lose the poles.
So the goods had to be carried on the camels. These items are all they need. Like this blanket. It's essential for building a shelter. Without it, I'd be drinking northwest winds all night. When ready again, they keep going. Carter and Bill's migration. What we need most is water. Camels can go weeks without water, but goats need it every day. This is a desert area, so the goats must be fed their own ice water regularly. A hiker like a camel is a desert coolie. Thousands of years ago, China used these coolies to transport silk to Europe. At that time they played a key role in the globalization of trade. In the evening, they must build a shelter as soon as possible. Resources here are poor. Every twig must be uprooted. This is a desperate case for survival. Carter even pulled up the roots. A temporary shelter was soon set up. Bill has been observing the terrain nearby. He saw a wolf. It's so fucking embarrassing to be so close. The two of them will pretend they never talked. Just turn around and run. But having a wolf around is never good news. The sheep might be a little dangerous tonight. Carter suggested tying up the sheep. They round up the sheep on the branches. Take turns keeping vigils tonight to protect the sheep. At night, they're staking out the shelter right outside. Time came to the third day. I slept very cold last night. Even though the sun is out now, it still feels cold. The wolves didn't come last night. Bill wants to have some breakfast before he starts. Take out the baked clay pot, then pull the camel out alone. What? Can this camel still make breakfast? Bill pulled the camel to the tree. The feet were then tied with string. What is this supposed to do? I've only seen you tie up Carter. What's with the camel all of a sudden? Looks like you're really hungry. Then he brought in a little camel. Let the baby camel suck first. I do see it. Bill wanted to milk the cow. In fact, early humans could not drink milk. The human body produces lactase. Drinking milk after the age of 8 can make you sick. But at that time they had to live on milk produced by animals. After thousands of years, human genes mutate slowly. That's why it's okay to drink milk. Even now it's about 2/3. Adults in the world don't drink milk. Bill squeezed and squeezed with his hands. But there was no milk. Now the main source of food is gone. Bill can only get food by hunting. I'm so tired of not having breakfast. Bill rode around looking for prey. He really wants to hunt a wolf and eat crispy dog meat pot. It looked like a dead silence. Careful Bill soon found a little mouse. He lifted his bow, aimed and fired. It would be amazing if he hit this. Few animals survive in this barren place. Want to eat Guangxi crispy dog meat pot? Sad ascend to heaven. The environment here is very cold. Carter's feet are freezing. She cut off some felt to make her shoes. We said we were here to survive in the wilderness. I didn't expect to be doing housework this time. It's good to have food. He kept working without eating. Carter's collecting supplies from the shelter. Today, they will continue their journey. Every time loading and unloading is very troublesome. They need to cross the dunes to reach the valley. In these circumstances, it's not just the roads. And he looks thirsty. They still have a long way to go. I didn't walk for most of the day. They are starting to build shelters again. Carter, with his explosive temper, was speechless. Hunting in these conditions is very difficult. She suggested killing a sheep and eating it. And Bill didn't know what to do. They knew it was a prop rented by the show crew and the herders. Bill couldn't do it. It costs a lot of money. After all, even though Carter said he didn't want to eat it, but they know better than anyone. The fat sheep don't want to eat it, but they could not find food. Carter took matters into his own hands. This bitch is about to go on a killing spree. Looks like she's really hungry. Carter went to the sheep with a knife. I got lunch in a flash. Looks like Carter's really hungry. She crushed the sheep to the ground. Looks like we got something for dinner tonight. Carter's feeling heartbroken right now. Tears almost came out of the corners of her mouth. The sheep are slaughtered. Why doesn't Bill the high guy come and help? Soon Carter was working with the lamb. She cut off a leg of lamb, pack up all the meat and take it back to the shelter. Is that all there is to a sheep? Put the mutton in the pot and cook. Soon Bill began to eat dinner. The size of a sheep, but they eat very little. I'd say half of them were taken by the show. Carter brought another piece of lamb liver to roast. Sure enough, the show took a lot of meat. They were barely able to eat. Time came to the fourth day. They set off early in the morning. Ahead lies the valley. Soon they came to a large, flat spot. There is a river here. Although a layer of ice has formed, this is about an inch thick. The river is shallow. They want to
This
walk
is
right
about
through it, but
an
animals
inch
are
thick.
afraid of
Maybe we
death.
could drive
How
these
can you
guys
get
over?
rid of it, no matter how loud you shout?
Hey!
I can't talk them out of it. We'll have to go around.
Me. Oh, these camels don't want to go.
And this horse does not want to go. Come on, come on!
After the camel leads the way, the sheep followed. They came to the foot of the mountain. The migration was complete. There's water and grass. They can live here for a long time on sheep. So what surprises do they have in store for us? Look forward to an update in the next video.
This is the strongest wilderness survival I've ever seen. They use their own hands, eating delicious roast beef in the snow. He made an axe out of sticks and stones. Then he cut down a tree with an axe. A bow was made. He bow hunted a cow and had a big beef dinner. Even the TV shows don't dare do that. And they did. Survival experts Bill and Carter will simulate early human survival in the Ice Age wilderness. So they too came to the barren tundra of Siberia. Obviously, this episode is about survival in the snow mountains. Survival experts Carter and Bill have to survive. A herd of yaks must be tracked across the tundra. Opening day, they're going to look for yaks in the snowy mountains. Bill saw a lot of blood on the ground. That means there's a victim. 18,000 years ago, early humans lived in groups through the Ice Age. Plants were scarce in those days. They probably ate meat to survive, eating the fat of large animals like mammoths and bison, or go into the tundra to track cattle. Soon they found the wolves hunting for food. Such a sensitive animal. I can't believe I didn't spot two high guys 10 meters away. Carter wants to share the meat too. Oh my God, you want a bite of anything? Opposite are two wolves, not two stupid dogs. You want a bite, you eat it. Don't encourage my old fool to die. Early humans also tried to compete with wolves for food. With more wolves, gradually, humans domesticated them into silly dogs. After the wolf is gone, two high men quickly stepped forward to check it out, even though all that's left is a pile of bones. But there's still some meat on the thighs to eat. Carter ripped off one of his legs and took it. The floor smells like urine. Guess those stupid dogs had enough to pee before they left. But this does not affect consumption. The cow's head is in excellent condition. Bill wants to cut it off and eat the cow's head. Brain fat is very good for them. Plants versus zombies isn't as scary as them. That's how they cut off a cow's head with a stone. There's enough meat in there for them to eat, but they weren't content with that. I've been scavenging for other excess meat. It's not just meat that's valuable. It's a whole cow hide. On this cold night, the hide keeps them warm. Two stone guys packed up a couple 100 pounds. Find a suitable location for shelter as soon as possible. For early humans, it's a death sentence in the tundra. But for these two, it's a vacation. Soon they found a forest. They planned to find shelter here. They had to build shelter and fire before dark. Bill cut the hide of the cow with a stone. It could be used to make bandages. You can't have a cow's head tonight, so he wanted to hang the cow's head. It should be safest stored in a tree. Carter found a dead tree. She was collecting some dry firewood. The hours of daylight here are very short. When the sun goes down, it freezes. Winter night temperatures in Siberia often drop to minus 31 degrees. Carter built a wall of heat radiation out of rocks. Building a fire inside will reflect the heat. Bill pulled out a piece of flint. This friction between stones creates sparks. Bill is going to start a fire with flint, but the spark was very small. It's easier if it's tinder. He pulled out a piece of aduma. It is made from mushrooms. At low temperatures, as long as there is a spark, can be ignited. Bill took the flint and scraped it over aduma. Soon I got the Mars seed. In the blink of an eye, a couple of highlighters made a fire. I don't even know if I used a lighter. The sun will soon go down. They began to feel a distinct chill. Build shelter under a tree. It's just a simple twig around it. The most important thing is to maintain the fire. Two people in a rush to build shelter. It's dark and cold now. It's all lit by a fire, with a shelter frame in place. They put a piece of skin over the roof. A shelter is ready. They roasted the cow bones over charcoal. How nice it is to roast beef kebabs in such cold weather. Break the cow bone open with a rock. The marrow inside is a rare delicacy. A couple of stone guys eating out of their mouths. Leftover bones can be used to make tools. Bill wants to make an axe, or a bow, an arrow, because this is where they're going to kill people. Time to the next day. Early this morning, Carter joked that he was sore from sleeping last night. The morning temperature was very low. Putting your hand on the fire doesn't help. For early humans, they are good at bow hunting, even though it's not good. But the prey is very large. You can hit it with your eyes closed. Bill is going to make an axe out of cow bones. Hang off the excess meat with a rock, and then cut off the joint head. This one-piece bone is perfect for an axe. Cut off the bottom of the beef leg. There were beef slices all over the floor. Too bad these high people don't know how to eat hot pot. Carter was looking for materials to make a bow, an arrow, but it's hard to find a straight branch. There are rivers in this area. The surface is covered with ice. If it does fall into ice water, you can't fix that with sex. The only way to keep warm is to throw it in a fire pit. Carter wanted to try it. Almost scared the shit out of myself. Don't you have a bee on your weight? The wood she wanted to collect was just opposite. So, she decided to go through here. Wood for bows and arrows is scarce on the tundra. I understand the value of Carter's risk. She moved her feet slowly across the ice. finally came to the opposite side without danger and found the wood she wanted. There's wood everywhere. I don't understand why she chose this one. Maybe this one is more handsome. Bill took the bone tomahawk and went looking for materials. He wanted to find wood to make a bow. This is a larch, perfect for making bows. Bill wants to try to cut down the tree with the bone. This high guy is really thinking. Make such a big bow. Oh my God. I told you to hunt, not shoot the sun. Soon he saw another Asian elm nearby. It's not very big. It's also good for making bows. Bill cut down trees with an axe, just chipping away bit by bit. It quickly cut through the tree with the thick arms. Are you sure it was used to make bows? I didn't know this axe was going to work. Carter sharpening the arrow over here. Two high men with a clear division of labor. It's not like having sex for 21 days. It's almost always a lie to win. Carter found cow bones very easy to use. Put the treated branches on the fire to roast. This will make it harder. The branches themselves are not very straight. It is easier to deform after heating. Bill is making an axe. A stick is the natural shape of an axe. But he's not lethal. The only thing that can kill is stone flakes. A connecting tool is also needed to attach the stone pieces to the wood. Bill took out the bone he had found. It's like connecting a hose to create an axe. Although very primitive, but it's very practical. Carter sighed. She wants to watch for yaks. Climbed to the top for the best view. She could see the marks on the snow clearly. You can tell which way the yak is going. 18,000 years ago, early humans lived during the Ice Age. They were forced to develop more lethal weapons. Bill and Carter, they need to track the yaks. So you need to make some weapons too. The biggest limitation so far is the lack of knives. It's a waste of time to work with stones. Bill wants to make a bow. Bow making is very meticulous. The direction of the grain must be observed. It's more flexible when you follow the arc. Otherwise, it will be easily broken. This stick is too thick. If you use a stone to shave until the monkey you, that's where the little axe comes in. Bill is making a bow, and Carter just makes arrows. She wanted to find feathers for her arrows. Carter found a gel on the tree. This gel has a strong bond. It can be used to make weapons. It's a baby to Carter. Now their only food is this cow's head. Bill took the cow's head down from the tree. If you put this cow's head to good use, you'll be full. But these foreign hippies are bad at cooking. Won't eat anything. Bill threw the beef into the fire to roast. All he thought he could eat was ox tongue and head. A cow's head was quickly scorched. Bill broke the cow's head open with a rock. There's a lot of meat in the cow's head, but Bill's only interested in a cow's tongue. There's a lot of beef tongue though, but it's not going to be enough for two high guys. A cow's head contains a lot of fat. It is an important substance needed by the human body. Bill dug out the cow's brains. Bake on a slate. This roast will give them the energy to hunt. The brains taste like quack. Eating roast beef in this cold weather. I can't say how comfortable it is. After eating, Bill began to make bows again. The bow has already been polished by the props team in a blink of an eye. During the Ice Age, man makes his living by hunting big game. They have to live with the herd all the time. Only in this way can we have a constant supply of food. Bill's bow is about to take shape. Toughness is also very good, in order not to break during use. You also need to dry the excess water over the fire. Well, it's worth a day to turn it into a weapon. With a bow, he can hunt here. Next, he had to make the bowstring. Bill burned the fur of the cow hide, like making bowstrings out of cowhide. Cut the skin into strips, then twist the hide into a circular shape. This can greatly improve the toughness of the hide, and it increases its elasticity. Carter plans to use the bone to make an arrow. Glue the bone fragments to the branches. Put the rubber band in your mouth to thaw. Put some feathers on the arrow. Don't underestimate the feathers on the arrow. The feathers create resistance in the air at the end of the shaft. It keeps the arrow balanced as it flies through the air. Usually the bigger the feather, the better. Making arrows is a craft, but it doesn't bother Carter, and Bill's bow is ready. He drew a circle on the ground. How powerful is the newly made bow? Bill is running a test. The results are very good. Time came to the third day. Today, they will start tracking the yak's movements. Pack everything up and take it away. The pair found cow droppings on the road. That means they are moving in the right direction. The yak's migration is about 20 miles a day. They found many footprints in the snow. This is supposed to come from the rabbit. Before hunting the yaks, it's also nice to catch a rabbit and have a good meal. They're looking for traces of rabbits. Soon found a rabbit out for a walk. Bill quickly began the hunt. They surrounded the rabbit. Bill sees the moment and pulls his bow, though the rabbit ran fast. But he still shot me with an arrow. I see here. I don't know. That means he's a god. Or is he thick-skinned? There's no evidence it was planted by the props team. Let's just say Bill was the hunter. They cooked the rabbits on a local fire. Put the stone inside the rabbit. What cooking technique is this? Carrying the rabbit, they continued to look for the yak. They walked for a long time. The rabbit has been cooked. This moving bento, I was stunned to see it too. They're squatting on the floor, enjoying rabbit. Just have a thick skin. You can do anything you want, you know. After they had eaten, they continued their journey. The weather here is very cold. They've been walking for a long time today. They're going to readjust their plans. Suddenly saw a ball of hair on the ground. Carter thinks it's yak hair. This is a good sign, proof that the yak is nearby. They climbed up the mountain and looked into the distance. Sure Sure enough, I saw the yaks. A yak with long flowing hair in front of him. They set out to hunt a yak for dinner. These hippies are so brave. They're going to give us some more surprises. Look forward to an update in the next video.